Hello, and we are live. Who have I got for you? That's Robin Humphreys. I'll make sure I do not miss anything. So, Robin is the owner of Phoenix Heart Healing. She brings in holistic mastery in energy healing, meditation, breath work, and she has helped her clients dissolve anxiety, depression, and nurture profound peace and deeper connection. She has got a beautiful gift for us as well. So if you are seeing this live, in the description, you can just click on the link and have the gift. But I'll be posting it in the link as well. And if you want to connect with her, she's on Facebook and Instagram at Phoenix Heart Healing. And I'm sure you would want to do that as we progress through. So it's interesting how I met her. She is amazing, spectacular. I have listened to her speak in the Women's Spirit Fest. We were getting all geared up in the 3 month journey of, preparing our soul talks and everything. This woman is magnificent. In her talk, her little one was at the door. So here you are, you're doing a live talk. Her little one is at the door. She's looking at her, and then, she's trying to, but she was completely present in the talk with us. I was spellbound. I have no clue how you did it. I was feeling the pressure. I'm like, oh my God, how are you doing it? So I think that in itself, everybody can, prepare a talk and give, but performing under such pressure as a mom, I think it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. The next, the stage is all yours. Tell us more about why is it that you do what you do? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely,
What brought
absolutely.
you to it?
hmm yeah, so I, from a very early age, have been an empath, and so started like with being able to tell what my parents and caregivers and people around me were thinking and feeling just by looking at them and and being in their presence, um, and that ended up sort of precipitating into a lot of depression and anxiety, starting from about middle school, and then well beyond, and some pretty severe, some extreme experiences in high school with that. I have a TEDx talk about of that whole period of my life and kind of how it brought me here. So I can share that with you if you'd like. But
Light bulb, light bulb, light bulb. She's got a TEDx talk.
TEDx
I
talk.
did not know about it before we started the podcast. Otherwise, I would have definitely mentioned it. But please do listen to that because I'm going to listen to it. Back to you, friends. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. And through those years of difficulty for me, what really saved me was making art and writing poetry, and then finding supporters in those arenas through teachers and mentors and people who really kind of were accepting me for me in a way that I hadn't experienced in the past. And then fast forward a few years, I started working in a holistic medical practice, and that was where I started getting introduced to like combining modalities for healing. And this, was more physical healing for the most part. That it was chiropractic and massage and acupuncture and Pilates and yoga and different things all in the same building. And people would coordinate their appointments, to do one after the other, and to really support the whole body. So that was really my first introduction to, as a very young adult. I think I started working there at age 18 or 19, and was there for about 6 years. And so that really started um, flashing, as you said, some light bulbs started going off of like what's possible in terms of healing. And I actually met my practitioner mentor through that office. She was a patient there, and then started really just feeling an interest and feeling a strong need to pursue my own healing. So I started taking some workshops with her and some other things, and then that just became a lifelong journey. I like to say, as a recovering perfectionist, um, that I was, I think, initially on a path to try to perfect myself, to fix all the things that I felt were wrong and weren't working. And, realized, of course, along the way that that's not possible and not really healthy. um, and yeah, so I really just first was about what was it that I needed to feel more whole, more connected with myself, happier and more able to communicate in relationships. And then that became trainings as a practitioner to then support other people to do the same. Yeah.
So much for sharing that. That's so beautiful.
Mm,
I can find, well, the most important thing, quite similar to you. I've been an empath for the first half of my life. I'm like, what's wrong with me?
yeah.
Why? Like, you feel too much. You
Mhm.
need to have a thick skin. How are you going to survive in your life? That's not how things go.
Yeah.
And I think I would say for a long period of time earlier, I'm like, am I the only one? Is something wrong with me? You are too sensitive. So
Yeah.
tell us, like, I'm pretty sure people who are listening, there might be people who are empaths or who have family members, like, your kids, your spouse, your parents, somebody you love who is.
Mhm.
Empaths are a lot of time misunderstood.
Yeah.
How can an empath own their power and know that
Mhm.
nothing is wrong with them? Because that's
Yeah.
the net. What could be the first step?
That's a really great question, and that's something that I have, done for myself and support other people with. So the first thing is, I would say, to really connect with yourself internally and start to acknowledge the feelings that you're having in the moment, whatever they are, as much as possible without judgment. So becoming the witness to yourself and your own experience. And this takes practice. This isn't just like, oh, I'm going to do this and then it happens.
Mm.
Um, so be patient with yourself in that process too. Um, but the more that you can do that, and sometimes it's even helpful to name your emotions out loud, just like, ooh, I'm feeling anxiety because I feel this tightness in my chest and my breath has gotten quicker, and I'm feeling some sadness because I'm feeling, isolated from people even in this crowd, and this also feels overwhelming. Whatever it is, um,
Hmm.
that can really help to kind of normalize the experience of whatever you're going through. And it's easy to say like, oh, you just don't worry about what other people think of you. Don't worry about what they say to you. Okay, great. Oh, thanks. Like, oh, right? Like that
This
doesn't.
is so profound. I wish somebody told me when I was this, crazy thinking 13-year-old. Because
Yeah.
this is what happens. Nobody tells you. Like, you spotted, literally pinpointed two very important things.
Mm,
Rather than losing yourself in the midst of it, naming what you're feeling, like,
yeah.
rather than losing it, being in your body, naming it, feeling it. Second thing is aligning with what's happening without judgment.
Yeah.
Why are you
Yeah.
feeling this? What's wrong with you? Why can't you cope with this? No judgment.
Totally.
No
Yeah.
judgment. Yeah.
And that can be really hard,
Yeah.
especially when we've gotten all the messaging about, you're too sensitive, you feel too much, like, why can't you be just a normal kid or whatever, whatever the messages are that have come through. But the more you can do that, of really like self recognition, which cultivates self compassion, the easier it is then to kind of start to tune out those outside voices and start to shift the internal narrative of whatever you might have internalized. And another thing is grounding. Um,
Hmm.
Grounding is super important because when we are empathic and we haven't really honed that as a skill or a gift or even a superpower, I like to say, like,
Yes.
you can totally turn your empathy into a superpower. Um, but when we haven't learned how to do that yet, the overwhelm can be really intense. I know it has been for me in the past, and then we can tend to dissociate, shut down, or even sometimes lash out. It depends on what our internal wiring is doing as far as a response to that. Um, and grounding, like spending time in nature is so healing and grounding and centering. And then even just like wherever you are in a given moment, if you're in a corporate business meeting and you're starting to feel like, just like press your feet into the floor, wiggle your toes so that you can feel your feet, like give yourself a felt sense of being in your body and connected with your body. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so, so, so helpful. Like
Yeah.
literally every single word of it. So we talked about grounding, being
Yeah.
present in your body, not getting lost. And even if you're in a busy business meeting, there's still a way out, right?
Yeah.
And Robin is sharing with us, like, literally in 3 minutes, how you can ease on your anxiety. That is the gift all about. You have the link in the description.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Robin, I am sure there are moms or dads here who are listening who have kids,
Mm.
maybe
Yeah.
teenagers who are empathic. Now, as young teenagers, we both, I mean, literally every single word you said, I've done that. I have shut down, I have
Yeah.
lashed out, I have dissociated, because when you can't deal with it, what do? You shut down. And
Yeah.
it's the worst as a teenager. The parent is out there here with us. Robin, but I want to help my child. What do I do? What
Mm.
suggest? I mean, they
Yeah.
know right now that empathy is their superpower. They're like, oh my God, just leave me alone. I don't know what
Right.
this. Yes.
Right, right. Yeah, so it definitely depends on the kid, right? And I'd say sort of different approaches for different stages of growth and development, right? Um, but so I'll just say before kind of talking about the teen part, my daughter's 5, she's about to turn
Mhm.
6, and one of the she is definitely empathic. She's got really big feelings that can often come out,
And we
in
don't know how to deal with it, isn't it?
different forms of meltdown, right, right. And so the thing that I do with her, and for myself, is I do my best to stay grounded. And so just really like kind of dropping into my body, dropping into my breath. I use a long exhale breath, which is something that you can do anywhere, anytime. You just have to like intentionally make your exhale longer than your inhale. And for whoever's watching this right now, whenever you're watching, just go ahead and try it while we're still talking and just
Mm.
notice what it does for your body. It's very grounding and regulating for the nervous
Let's just do
system.
it together. Should we do it together?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
let's
let's
do it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it can be nice to close your eyes, but also in the real world, in the real world, we're in the real world, but in everyday life, situations, we don't always get the opportunity to do that. So,
Mm.
either way, whatever is comfortable for you, and then just breathing in through your nose and ideally out through your nose as well, or out through your mouth. Just intentionally making your exhale longer than your inhale. And with this kind of practice too, it's really great to, as best we can, not judge the quality or the depth of the breath. So it doesn't matter if your exhale isn't very much longer than your inhale, if all of it feels perhaps a little shallower than you'd like it to be, just meeting yourself right where you are. And then whenever you complete your next long exhale, it's always good to take a couple of natural breaths just to notice how you feel in your body, in your emotions, in your mind, before slowly and gently opening your eyes and coming back into the rest of your world and your day.
I found that really relaxing. Just
Yeah.
this is so simple, isn't it? Even if
Yeah.
you're in the middle of a traffic jam, your
Yep.
3-year-old old is throwing a tantrum that you have no clue what's happening, you
Yep.
can still do it. And
Yeah.
what happens when you're anxious? you start shallow breathing, isn't it?
That's
In
right.
Yeah, you just do. The
Yeah.
moment you start doing this, I think it has this calming effect. The
Yeah,
breath
exactly.
work is so underrated, isn't it? Just
Yeah,
that is something you can do anytime, no
that's
matter
right.
the situation.
That's right. Yeah. And I'll just throw in there too, excuse me, that that particular breath is one that I use and I recommend to all my clients for, like you said, anywhere, anytime. That's like my little tagline is like, yes.
Anytime.
And if you're somebody who has trouble falling asleep at night, sometimes, as an entrepreneur, I've found that this happens to me much more often now that like I lay down and then my brain's like,
Person messaged me. I'm sure I did not reply. Let
right,
me go and
right. Do I have everything on my to-do list for tomorrow that I'm actually supposed to do, And that breath is really good for helping to slow everything down. And what's totally normal about it is that, so what happens for me is brain is going and then I say, okay, long exhale. And then I start doing it. And then a minute or two later, I might be like, oh, whoops, there I go thinking again. And like I haven't been even paying attention to the breath anymore. And then I come back to it, come back to the long exhale. And it's a little bit of a back and forth sometimes. And being, in a place as best we can to just witness that and even like chuckle at ourselves like, geez, okay, my brain's like really on a roll tonight. And then eventually the next thing that I know is that I'm waking up in the morning. So if it's totally natural and normal to be doing that back and forth, and that's why it's called a practice.
of
Yeah.
course. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So I have had a few learning points. We are early on in the podcast, but still, the first and foremost is this one, like, longer outer breath. You can
Yeah.
do it anytime. And you said you do it with your 5-year-old. So that means
Mhm.
that, if your child is old enough to understand, you can tell them, and that will help them calm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. And when we started off, realizing that being an empath is a superpower. It's a journey. It's a
Yep.
journey. It
Yep.
takes time. It's like you're getting to grips with it. But
Yeah.
that's amazing. And what if you have a work colleague? How do you deal? Now you're in the other end. So now we are talking about the empaths. So you're having a
Mhm.
work colleague, you're having a spouse, you're having a child who is not an empath, who is very much like do. And although
Mhm.
you love them so very much,
Mhm.
you're like, how do I make this person understand that the way we look and feel the world is different? It's not the
Mhm.
same. And that doesn't mean that I love you any less or we're not connected.
Mhm.
Because I
Mhm.
know that, like, not all of your friends or family members are empaths, not people who
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Or what
Mhm.
say would be an easier way to, let's say, be seen, be better understood?
That's a great question. That's a great question. So, one thing is just to have a direct and compassionate conversation. If somebody is willing to and open to at least hearing you, and what I find in communication and conversation is instead of saying like, "You don't seem to understand me," you could
Mm,
say something like, I just wanted to share something from myself that I feel like might help us to connect more as people, or something like that.
that. I love
Right?
that because the first statement is like as if you're holding other person on gunpoint. You
Yep.
don't understand me, and
Yep.
that's it. As soon as you've said that, the other
Yep.
person does this, and
Yep.
you can't get to them.
Exactly. And then no opportunity. It's lost. Right.
No, no,
Right.
no.
Yep.
Amazing. Slight reframing of words, having an open conversation, not a fight, not an argument, just an
Yep.
open conversation. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then what just came to mind when you were asking the question is like the fingerprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every single person on earth has a different fingerprint.
Yes.
And so you can correlate that to other experiences of how we are internally and how no one person looks exactly the same. Even, I mean, I don't, identical twins are like the same in their DNA, but then usually there's some tiny little something that is, makes them distinguishable from each other, right? Even if it's just like a one freckle or something, right? Um, and so, if it's helpful to give that kind of analogy to somebody who's just like not really getting it, um, you know, you can say like,
Mm,
my my internal landscape is my fingerprint,
mm.
and so is yours, and they're just different. And I don't ask you to necessarily understand exactly what my experience is, but I ask you to respect the fact that my experience is different from yours, or something like that.
I
um,
love how you play with words. So it's
mhm.
non pouncing, non
Yeah.
confrontational in not like a bad way, but it's like
Yeah.
being real, not running away from the conversation. It's like, oh, let's put it under the carpet. No, you're facing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like playing around with words, using them in a better way. Okay, wonderful. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
tell me, like, I got your journey, like, as a young adult, you were into this healing practice, you found your mentor, you dove deep. How did Phoenix healing come into play? When were you
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm going in my own?
Yes. Oh, that's a good question, and yeah, and it's a great little kind of piece of my journey too. So thanks for asking. So back in 2013 is when I completed my initial practitioner certification, and I was living in San Francisco at the time. And so I did like a number of practice sessions with people, kind of started getting myself out there. But I was also I'm an artist, and I was really that was my profession there. I was working in different art studios and doing things, and I had I really kind of had some insecurity around bringing forward my healing gifts, and if you are a healer, or someone who feels like called to be of service to humanity in that type of way, then that might be relatable. A lot of us have that kind of thing, and I don't know, we can talk more about that. I have, but not to get off track of answering your question. Um, so I kind of put it on the back burner for a while. And then I moved here to Georgia, where I live in the US. Um, and I live in a small town that's very Christian, and energy healing and things like that is kind of an edgy topic here for a lot of people. It's not very well understood, or not a lot of people have
Woo woo
experience.
are you doing? What woo woo things are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. And even, yeah, I've been called like, a cult, and there's just these different things, and that's okay. I mean, so far, the response has been overwhelmingly positive for the people that
Good,
I've interacted
good.
with. But um, anyway, not to make the story too long. So I started after being here for quite a while. I was like offering a free meditation class for college students here, and I had a few people who came, and then they just became regulars. Like pretty much every single week, they were there. Three awesome young women, and so that really started getting me like, okay, yeah, I really do need to be doing this. And I started seeing people out of my home, um, and then
Can
fast
I
forward,
just
yeah,
ask a quick question? Okay.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
if somebody's listening here, okay, so you had a practitioner certification, then the insecurities came up. We'll dive deep because anybody who is diving deep into their deeper calling, it will creep up no matter
Yep,
what.
yep.
So, what did it take to make that plunge from I don't know, I am not yet ready to face this insecurity to go out and
Mhm.
say, okay, I'm going to offer this meditation class to these college students because
Mhm.
in our journey we are like, yeah, I did it. I
Yeah,
think
right.
there has to be a leap of faith there when you choose,
Yeah,
I'm going to do it. So how did
yeah.
it materialize?
Yeah, so a couple of things that made it easy for me to drop into that space of offering the meditation class was well, one, I was offering it for free just for me to get practice. And so then that was like well, I'm not charging money, right? That was kind of a little bit of the hump for me.
Mm.
Um, and two, I had a lot of teaching experience from the glass work that I do, or at least that I used to do. I had years and years of teaching classes in that arena, and so that was an area where I felt already a little bit more comfortable. And so that, and then three actually was in like major encouragement from my husband.
Wow.
And he was like, just do it. Like, just see how it goes. It's, you can just go talk to the people at the library. Cause I had a room at the library at the university where they would let me come in once a week. And so it was just like starting, one step at a time, go and kind of nervously like talk to the people at the library and be like, do you think that like I might do something like this? And they were like, well, let me talk to somebody and we'll get back to you, and just sort of starting the ball rolling one step at a time.
Courage. Because if you were like, no matter how much of love and encouragement from your husband, if you were like not ready to take that leap of faith, like
Yeah.
I know that feeling. You're like,
Yeah.
and then should I talk to this person? Oh my God, let me know. I should. And then you took that leap of faith.
Yeah.
You were courageous enough, and well, see where you are. Yeah,
Yeah.
incredibly proud. Incredibly proud. That's
Well, one thing, just
no,
one other thing I was going to say about that too is like, um, it's not about doing things without fear, right? And there's that classic quote of like, feel the fear and do it anyway. And the thing is like really feeling and knowing all along the way that this calling to be of service and to bring forward like the gifts for healing that I have is bigger than the fear, even though at some
oh, I love.
point it hasn't quite felt
I
that way. It's like kind
love it.
of,
So
yeah,
beautiful. I
yeah,
think anybody who is following a deeper calling, following their gift within, this is gold. What you
yeah,
said is gold because this happens.
yeah,
Your own fear comes into the play, and you have to understand there's a bigger purpose than
yeah,
just me, my fear. What will people think of me?
yeah,
This is so much bigger.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And it's such a, yeah, I
we're
mean, it's such a
having
journey.
goosebump moments all the while you're speaking, so that's amazing.
Yay.
Love.
Yeah. So what happened then, just to complete, answering that question from a few minutes ago, and try to keep us like, not too going too tangential, right? Um, is that COVID hit,
Mm,
and I had been a stay-at-home mom for a year,
mm,
voluntarily, although
mm.
it was really difficult. I did not anticipate how challenging that was going to be for me.
Oh,
Um, and then, so at 1 year, my daughter went to daycare. She was in daycare for 6 months, and then COVID hit. And so then I became a stay-at-home mom again for a whole another year involuntarily,
mm.
while my husband was like, he's also an entrepreneur and he was scrambling to like keep his business from going under, which he did, thankfully. Um, and uh, and so as soon as in that year of the beginning of COVID, there was a lot of internal reckoning that was happening of like um, really needing to figure out what I was going to be doing afterwards. And I had a couple of different part-time jobs, and one of them was working for my husband, didn't want to do that anymore. And so as soon as we got word that daycare was open again and my daughter could go back in, I was like, it's time. I'm starting my business. So in the middle of COVID is when I decided to start a business.
That's it. I think it was that push you needed. Come
Yeah,
on, come
yeah.
on. There you go.
Yep, exactly. Yep. It's like, okay, we're gonna strip away everything else so you like really get to look at, what your next steps are. And
Wonderful.
now here I am, just past my 3-year anniversary. So
Brilliant, brilliant. No, first of all, big loud applause for
oh,
giving us your time, for being here, for
mm,
you know, for sharing your gift with the world. Because
mm,
when all healing is about reconnecting with yourself, would you agree?
yes.
Because
Yes.
isn't it? When you feel disconnected with yourself, you can't access that unique gift that you are here to share, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think healing, like I have met people where it's like as if healing is some sort of a luxury. I
Mm.
feel that's the case. I think if you want to do justice for the purpose you have chosen to be here for, I think healing is a must. You
Yeah.
can't maybe, may not be. You healing is you coming back to your true self, your real self, who you're
Yeah.
really going to be, isn't it? Okay,
Totally.
that's amazing. So here
Yeah.
you go. So that's a lovely journey where you're like, okay, COVID hit. You're like, that's it. I'm going all in. There was Phoenix healing. Hmm.
Mhm.
Now, how did you start getting clients? This is another problem with new entrepreneurs. Like, oh my God, I've got so much to offer. I don't know how to charge and I don't know how to get people. So
Yeah.
what did we do?
Yeah. Well, so initially, it was just through personal connections. Somebody that I kind of worked with on a professional basis was we kind of became friends a little bit, and then he started telling me about some of the traumas in his life, and I just shared with him like, hey. And I felt like this was still pretty early on of living here in Georgia, and but I felt like he was somebody who would be open to at least considering the idea, and not be like, ah, and so I mentioned, what I do, and then yeah, he hired me for a while, and that was kind of the
Huh.
gateway. And I think I was charging like 35 or $45 for an hour session, and then spending like at least an hour right after the sessions writing this like super crazy long, thorough email that was basically a transcription of like my whole notes from the session. I mean, and that was like, but you got to start somewhere, right?
But that has a charm of its own, isn't it? Your first client, the breakthrough they got, and
Yeah,
like, it's not only the person you're working with, you grow with each session as well, isn't it? Your skill
exactly.
base, isn't it?
Yeah,
Amazing.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and then for a while from there, it was just like word of mouth. And then, and now I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm doing more speaking. And so really getting my presence out there more. And so that's helping as well.
that's wonderful. So one step at a time.
Yeah.
So young Robin as a teenager who realized, okay, I'm an empath, the struggles of it, the anxiety of it, how did you face it? And you being an empath, your little one being an empath, you told us this, well, golden nugget, simple golden nugget of how to handle it, how to work around it. And being an empath is a superpower. There's nothing wrong with you. Being
Yeah.
sensitive, I think I'm saying that just for myself, I guess, because as I said, you're too sensitive. There's
Mhm,
nothing
mhm.
wrong with being sensitive. It's
Right.
good to be a sensitive human being, isn't it? You
Yeah.
don't need to desensitize yourself. No, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So,
Yeah.
Robin, if say we have got somebody who's listening to us live or on replay,
Mhm.
they are struggling with depression or anxiety,
Yeah.
or they know of somebody who is,
Mhm.
what would you suggest they can do? Maybe like I don't know, first couple of steps. Just like,
Mhm.
Robin, I know you've been doing it for so long. I know you're all sorted. I am feeling completely stuck. I have no clue where to go from here. What would you say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's an excellent question because I do remember what it's like to be there, even though it's been a while since I've been in that really like deep, dark, stuck place. Um, is to challenge yourself to reach out to someone.
Hmm.
It can be a friend, a family member, even somebody like that you're connected with online that you've never met, but somehow you feel a resonance with, where maybe they're, just somebody who you feel like could be in your court, and ask them if they're willing to just like listen to you for a few minutes, and share what you're going through. And I know that for some people that can feel impossible. So honoring that, I know that I was in that place as a teenager. It took like a total like emotional meltdown to start to open up the conversations about really what I was going through. And so if that's not feeling possible for you, if you don't have somebody to reach out to, then I really like, I always come back to the breath.
Mm,
Uh, Practicing that long exhale breath, and something that is really, really good for changing our states of being is movement. I have a friend who's a yoga teacher, and she said something that really stuck with me a few years ago, which is move a muscle, change a thought.
mm,
So I really like that. So, with anxiety, it's almost like there's extra energy in the body, and so it's really good to move, to be able to discharge some of that energy, whether it's just like taking a minute to go stomp around a room where you don't feel like somebody's going to get like
mhm,
out by that or something, um, or just like wiggling and shaking your body for a second. And with depression, depression can be almost like a lack of energy, right? And so even some like little bit of movement, perhaps while you're also connecting with your breath, maybe to a song that makes you feel good, can just start to kind of open up the channels for yourself,
mhm,
to shift that state of being a little bit. And I do want to say too that um, depression and anxiety, like all the things that we experience are messengers and are gifts unto themselves. And so it's not always about shifting it, fixing it, changing it. Like really the kind of the juiciest or most magical place to be is when we are able to really like face to face kind of witness and honor what it is that we're experiencing. And so if you're depressed, like connecting with yourself, like, okay, like what is happening in me to create this feeling? What am I responding to? What is the message here? Sometimes depression is like a call to actually slow down and really connect internally with ourselves. And
mhm,
then by doing that, it will start to shift. Because as much as, of course, we want to and need to be able to honor what we're feeling, uh,
mhm.
having it last a really long time that can be uncomfortable and even detrimental to our lives is also something that's not ideal, right? And so, yeah, it's kind of a long answer, but I have a lot to say on that topic.
I No, that makes total sense because what happens is, we live in this world where it's like do 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 do. So it's like, this needs to be done. I mean, I have nothing against the to do energy. Yes, we need it,
Yeah,
but at the same time, this is so true. Emotions are like messengers.
yeah,
I was that person, like, okay, no, no, I don't have time right now. I need to do this, and then shut down, shut
mhm,
down, shut down. I mean, tell me, everybody has their own way.
yeah,
Netflix, shopping, drinking, something else, you name it.
yeah,
What are you doing? You're running away from that emotion. You don't
yeah,
want to face it, right?
yeah,
I think it's a messenger when you are comfortable in staying in the discomfort for a little while to listen.
yeah,
Just be there, not
yeah,
lose yourself, not drown yourself. Just
exactly.
listen to what it has to say. And I think, would you agree, most of the times it dissipates on its own, then it has
Yeah,
done its job rather than
yeah,
just go away,
exactly.
I don't want you.
That's yeah, right. We all know that it's then going to be marinating, simmering under the surface somewhere, and then we never know exactly how, when or how it might come out. And what you were just saying too just reminded me of a phrase that is the basis for one of the modalities that I'm certified in, which is called compassion key. And the phrase is, "What is met with compassion dissolves." And then the instant I heard that phrase, I was just like, ah, like it felt like such a relief, to not be pushing away and pushing against, all the things that we don't want to feel or that we don't want to remember in our experiences, or, but that we,
Repeat it out loud. This is so beautiful. What is met with compassion dissolves. And would you agree this stands most true for our own self? We are way more compassionate to other human beings in our
Yeah.
life. For most people, at least for
Yeah.
most people listening to it,
Sure.
other
Yeah.
people listening to it, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Whereas your best friend is going through something, you're like, oh, you are there for them. You go through the same situation and just listen to yourself talk. For most people, it's
Yeah.
not fine. It's not fine. At least that was me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
I'm just gonna write. So this is my board where everything goes in. It's going in there. What's
Mhm.
compassion dissolves. That's so true. That's so.
Mm. Yeah. And it takes practice to cultivate that compassion and that self-compassion. Um,
I saw it. I saw it in your eyes when your little one was standing at the door. If you
mm,
hadn't met that, no, no, literally, I am coming back to it because that was a moment of, I don't know, I'm trying to find the word, of
mm,
immense strength for me. You know, it
mm,
wasn't just motherhood, it wasn't just being a speaker. You cannot do it without having that deeper strength and compassion for yourself. Because
mhm.
otherwise, snap. Oh my God, I
Yeah.
had planned this 20 minutes talk for so long. I have given so much for it. And now this happens.
Yep.
But till the time you don't have that grounding and
Mhm.
that compassion
Mhm.
for yourself. So what she's saying, she lives it. I've seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did want to share a couple other things about that, as well as talking about like um, teens who are empaths and maybe how to support that, because I was realizing I didn't quite get to kind of answering that piece, and I feel like that could be important for
Please
people who
do.
are watching. So yeah, so my when my daughter was having that meltdown during my presentation, um, I was so I felt leading up to it, because she started like 5 minutes before I was going on live, and I was like, oh, here we go, um, and that was like actually a big fear of mine,
Mm,
is to have exactly that happen. And so I was like, okay, this is what's happening, like meeting it in the moment and just acknowledging, like, I'm probably not going to be able to help her feel better, and I still need to do what I need to do. And so how do we do this? And um, so I felt in my body like the anxiety rising, and I could have like freaked out and come on camera all frazzled and like and I just took a moment to do some breathing. I'm pretty sure I probably did a few long exhale breaths, and then I
was it
clearly
on the camera or
communicated.
off the camera? Because I didn't see you breathing. So was it off the camera then?
Might have been off the camera. Yeah, like right before I came on
Okay.
live, or long exhale, like you said, you can do it anywhere, anytime. Nobody knows you're doing it. So
No, I was mesmerized. I think I'm
covert.
repeating that over and over. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So, yeah, I've got a 3-year old, so I could completely
Yeah,
relate. Like, oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
God. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Coming back.
yeah. And then and
Yeah.
then so telling my daughter, like, I have got to do this presentation right now. I know you're upset, and I'm going to be done in a little while, and then we'll come back together, or whatever the exact words were that I said to her. And then really what it was, along with the grounding and breathing for myself, is trusting in my ability to do the repair with her afterwards.
Mm,
um, because not going into a story about like, oh my gosh, this she could be traumatized for life if I don't like just cancel my presentation last minute and just be with her, help her get these stickers on this paper, which is what the meltdown was about. Or what it wasn't really what it was about. That was what precipitated it, right?
mm,
um, and so then as soon as I was done with my presentation, I came out, and I was 100% available for her, and just like opened the door, came out, scooped her up in a big hug, like, oh sweetie, I'm so sorry, I know that was so hard, I'm so sorry you were upset and that I wasn't available, and I'm here now. And then just like holding space for her to be upset and to cry, and really let that out with me, because she was like crying and howling for most of my presentation. Just Zoom cut that sound out so you guys couldn't hear it.
I could hear it. Yes. Can I ask a question with personal struggle now that you say it?
Yeah, yeah.
I make every effort to be my best self, and as you heal, you put the guard down, you become a conscious parent. I
Mm,
still struggle when my 3-year-old is like, sometimes they cry for no reason. So
yeah.
I want to hold space, but
Mm,
it's like if I can't fix it, I
yeah.
I
Yeah.
start getting frazzled, and
Sure. Yep.
and
Yep.
then like it becomes a cycle. Oh my God, I'm not a good parent. I can't
Mm,
fix them. I
yeah.
don't want to be that fixer. I want to be present, but
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I really struggle with it. It's like
Yeah.
I want to be that person who's like, oh no, I'm there for you. I'm there for you all.
Mm,
You
mm-hmm.
can express any emotion and I'm there for you. This is the mom
Yeah.
I go in with. But then as the emotion is expressed, when it's like, what? Then after some
Mm-hmm.
time, I don't know. I need to fix it. I need to
Yeah.
get it right. I don't know how to hold space for it.
Yeah. I love this question. I love your vulnerability in asking because it's not easy to ask. We all like kind of we want to present ourselves as like, oh, I've got it all together and I'm doing a great job. And
That's
because most of us don't feel like we are, right?
That's one of the reasons I do this,
Yeah.
because what I want to show is this is me. I've got
Yeah.
crazy days, I've got a 3-year-old, I have
Yeah.
got lots and lots of flaws, and I'm not perfect. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So love the question. Definitely have some thoughts for you. So one of the things that I am aware of is that when we as parents get triggered by our kids' emotions, that it usually has something to do with how our emotions were handled when we were kids.
Right.
And so and this may or may not be true for you, but it's, generally speaking, it applies. So when the emotions start feeling really big and you don't know how to handle it, you probably or may have had experiences where um, your parents or caregivers may have tried to shut down your big feelings. Is that
That's true.
true? Or like, they just didn't have time for it, or they didn't know quite how to handle it.
Didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so just as a summary, I was 3 years old when my younger brother arrived, and then obviously there's like you can understand, there's an overwhelmed
yeah.
feeling. Both parents were working. I mean, I
Mhm.
understand caregivers and parents do their very best, but yeah, for most of the time, I've been told that my feelings were always too big and out of proportion to what had happened, and
Yeah.
they didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, right, right, right. Yep. Yep. And so then that unconsciously carries through into those moments. And I missed it if you said, is it a son or a daughter? Who's three?
My son, my
Your
son.
son. Okay, I think you did say that, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, and so inevitably that's like that's kind of an imprint, even like a cellular somatic imprint that you have. And so your body is responding to his big feelings because of the experiences you had and what was activated in your body when you might have been 3 or beyond,
Mm,
when you were told this is too big, this is too much, there's not enough room for this for you, right? And so there can become this internal push and pull of like you are operating partly from your experience, and then you're also desiring to operate from your intention to do it differently, right? And then that's where the
yeah, because that's what I feel.
how do I,
I have this intention of conscious parenting and I do every effort to be that, but then there's this ingrained thing. Like that's
right?
almost like pushing a button, like this,
Yeah,
even before
yeah,
I like, yeah. So that's
right.
exactly how it feels. There's this pull.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I totally get it. Yeah, I'm with you. You're not alone. Yeah, any of you watching who can relate to this, obviously, you're hearing that. Even those of us who are like in this healing field, like we struggle with all these things too. Um,
yes.
yeah, and so a few things is I heard you say that when he's crying for no reason, and what I want to say is that
That
from
is
my experience is that there's always a reason, even if we don't understand it. And so sometimes just acknowledging that and really recognizing like and if it seems out of proportion, what I've really been coming to with my daughter is like that there are other layers behind what it is that they're expressing. Like, her getting really upset about the stickers right before my presentation was not about the stickers, right? It was about me not being available, me leaving her alone in the next room here in my office. My husband was out of town last minute to go visit his mom who was sick. Like, there's like um, layers. And so I usually try to acknowledge out loud, like, oh, wow, you're having a really hard time right now. Is there anything else that's happening for you? Is there anything else that's making you feel upset, along with whatever the presenting thing is, along with the fact that I cut your sandwich the wrong way or whatever it is.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Like, as soon as you pointed it out, I felt so insensitive saying crying for no reason. No, that's not true.
And
There,
that's not my intention, but just to bring conscious awareness to it, Yeah. Yeah,
because
yeah.
that came to my own awareness, which wasn't. The reason might be something that I am not getting, but there is a reason.
Mm,
And sometimes even he might not be himself aware of. Like in the stickers. Obviously, that's not the stickers. She
yeah.
might think that's the stickers. So even they are not completely aware of it, isn't it?
Oh,
Okay,
totally. Yeah.
true. Yeah. What do
Yeah.
I do with my urge of needing to fix it? Like,
Yeah.
that's a big problem. Like, I don't want to
Totally.
fix it. I'm like, okay, see, now I've done this and this. So today morning we were sitting in the car to go to preschool. Now I want my dumper truck. So I went inside. There's another toy that sits in the car. No, I don't want this. So I changed three toys. So I'm happy to do
Mm,
that. Till the time
mm,
you're like, now I'm happy. So I've done this. I've fixed it. Now all is well.
right. Right.
And I feel so shitty saying that, but that's innately how I function. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I can absolutely relate to that also. I have been a people pleaser for most of my life, and it's like almost sort of exponentially easier to do that with our own kids, right? It's just like, oh, what do you want? Just sure, sure, sure.
They know
Um,
the exact buttons to press, and like
right.
they're your biggest teachers, isn't it? Okay,
Yes.
you have sorted out. Let me see. Let me check it out.
Right, right, right. How many times can I get her to go back in for a different toy? Like, yeah, yeah. So part of it is really like your internal process of recognizing that you are enough
Mm.
as you are and in what it is that you're doing, right, that there's a piece in there about wanting to you know do enough, be enough for someone else. There can also be a
Mm.
piece in there with wanting to fix things, is again like coming back to kind of the discomfort with the big emotions or with the challenging emotions, right, based on like what we've experienced in our own growing up, and our own kind of emotional reflections from others. And so uh, it's like getting yourself to a place, and through breathing and grounding in those moments,
Mm.
um, and and really kind of practicing being in the discomfort even for a little while. And so it's just coming to mind is like, um, for example, like maybe practicing not like giving him what he wants right away. Like, how, like, can you be in a place for 2 minutes where he's upset, but you're gonna say, not right now. I can do that for you in 2 minutes, because it's really important as parents to and I practice this all the time. We're constantly still learning and evolving with all of this, but for our kids to recognize that we have boundaries, right, and that boundaries are important, and by modeling that, then that's the best way that they're going to learn it, is by seeing it and feeling it from us, even when it's hard. And so sometimes, like, I have to say to my daughter, like, I'm still eating dinner. This just happened last night or the night before. Like, I'm still eating dinner. You're finished. That's great. I'm not ready to play with you because I still need to finish my dinner. And she might get upset. She might go run and scream and cry in the other room. And I'll say to her, like, I'm here for you. I hear that you're upset, and I'll be available as soon as I'm done with my dinner. And with my daughter, she's in a stage right now where if something doesn't happen right when she wants it to, she can get
Right
this.
now, right now. I know everything is right now.
Yeah, and then she says, "You'll never play with me." Like immediately can flip into like this extreme of like it's never gonna happen, even if I'm like, "Girl, I told you 5 minutes. That's not very long," but like,
Oh yes.
and like really, even when I'm feeling some discomfort and activation, like anchoring into myself for what my needs are too. It's like, I'm hungry, it's dinner time, I gotta finish eating. Like this is, and my husband's good at that too. As far as like this is just kind of how the world works, and
Mm,
it's difficult. It's difficult for everybody, and it's also like a big part of how they learn, right?
it's true.
Yeah, how does all that land for you? Do you have any other like follow up?
Really does. I mean, this wasn't a planned question, I promise you. I love to be
Yeah, yeah.
for it to be as organic as possible. But the moment you mentioned it, like, this was just a couple of days back. So it just came rushing to my head. And
Mm,
this is something, again, I have like not a very happy self talk after it, because it's like,
mm,
oh, I needed to hold space for him. Whereas I couldn't.
yeah.
And you know what? So, what you said, the most important thing that I took away for practicing is staying with the discomfort, even if it is for a minute or two. My need to, like, leave apart others. I want to run away from my big feelings.
Mhm,
Yeah. I'm
mhm.
like, okay, okay, that's it, let's fix. Now I'm done. Like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm feeling this.
right.
And if I can't do that for myself, I can't model that for him, then he
Mhm.
doesn't know how to do that either. So that
Yes,
I'm teaching him,
right.
okay, it's okay to run away from your big feelings. I can say
Yeah.
things like, oh, emotions are messages, you listen to them. But if you are not ready to be comfortable in that discomfort for a minute or two at least to start with,
Mhm,
that's
mhm.
not happening. That's
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
That was super, super, super amazing, Robin. I mean, I'm
Mhm,
pretty sure our amazing audience have got lots of insights.
mhm.
It was, I don't know, I'm looking for the right words. So many golden nuggets for me. So that's
Mm.
amazing.
Yay.
So, no, no, literally, literally. I mean, a lot of learning for my parenting, for being an empath, anxiety, all of those things.
Yeah. Before we move on, I want to say one other quick thing about the parenting piece is that one of the things that I practice also is acknowledging my feelings out loud in the moment with my daughter without the energy of like blame or shame, just like, ooh, I am feeling really frustrated right now. I'm having a hard time being patient because I'm trying to get you to brush your teeth and it's not happening, and I kind of need to like take a deep breath and just step away for a minute, and I'll be right back. That kind of thing. And that can be hard
Thank
to
you for
practice.
saying that. It's okay, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
once you step out, it's easier to be composed rather than being
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, that is
Right.
very useful. That is
Yeah,
very.
and it's another form of modeling too for them. Like even though it might be difficult in the moment, they might, sometimes she's like really upset if I need to go leave the room to regulate myself, but it is of the utmost importance. And then that's another form, of a healthy self-care that they can learn from us. Yeah.
That's extremely useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I can surely do. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go.
Good.
So,
Good.
Robin,
Yeah.
our
Practicing.
amazing audience, so, like, Robin, we love you. Ruchi got so much for you, and she is like, okay, Robin is my dear friend. They want to work with you. What can they do? How can they find
Yeah.
you?
Yes. So on Facebook and Instagram at Phoenix Heart Healing, and you'll find links in both places, to like I offer a free 30-minute breakthrough session for people who want to have a one-on-one conversation. Um, and what I love to offer to everyone also is I have a free resource that I've created, which you mentioned at the beginning, and you said that the link is in the description of the video. So
It is.
so that's already in there, which is 3 tips to reduce anxiety in 2 minutes or less.
Mhm.
And it's just like 3 practices, none of which we've done today, oddly enough. So you'll get 3 different things that you can use when you're feeling anxious. It's actually great for depression as well. Um, Getting yourself like feeling back in control of your body and your emotions when you need it the most. So I always like to recommend like print it out, keep it on your fridge, keep a copy in your car, like save it digitally on your phone so you have it at your fingertips whenever you really need it. And that's just like a great resource. And then what that does, you put your name and your email in, and then that puts you on my email list. Of course, you can unsubscribe if you ever want to, but then you'll get information from me, and also like prompts with the links for ways to connect further and all of that good stuff. So that's a great
I've subscribed
gateway.
to Robin's email list. I've got the sheet she's talking about, and it works. So
Yay!
yeah,
It works.
yes, yes, yes. It's amazing, and it's really quick as well. So like really
Yeah.
quick, really amazing. Right. So if say they're like, okay, fine, Robin, we have been on the call with you, and I want to work with you. Is there any course program? How does the working happen? Is it like
Mm.
weekly sessions? What would that?
Yeah. So primarily I work one-on-one with my clients. I am actually developing a few online courses for some group programs, so stay tuned. And typically I'm working in about a 6-month container. And I call my program the Rooted Growth Transformation Program. And I use a tree as the kind of symbol for it, because when we are wanting to expand and kind of grow our branches and reach out and into the world and into the space of possibility for ourselves, it's so important to be planting those roots and sending and grounding those roots down so that we are balanced, we are connected, centered, and supported. Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's very helpful. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that with us, Robin. And just I don't know anything if I have not covered anything that we did not venture into about you, what you do, about healing, anything that you would like to share, go ahead.
Yeah. So one thing that feels important is, for anybody who's considering, wanting to work with me, curious about that, is that I have like a huge array of different modalities and types of practices that I use, and it's all customized to each person. And so that feels really important. I'm not taking you through a predetermined sequence of things like we do this on session 1 and this on session 2. Like, no, it's all really co-creative. Like, we are with me as like the one kind of laying out the map and the plan, but then we're navigating it as we go and tailoring it to exactly what you need, what your challenges are, what your desires and dreams and visions for yourself are, and then we work together to bridge that gap.
Basically, you make a tailor-made plan. Literally, you get. So she's gonna get you in and make this perfect plan that fits your bill, just for
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Make
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's such an honor and pleasure to have you. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I've had a lot of learning. And
Mm.
I would like to thank you on behalf of our audience as well, who are watching right now, who'll be watching later on. And it was such an honor and pleasure.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I feel like we could talk for several hours and still not be tired.
I agree. I'm
Yeah.
having the same feel. I'm like, oh, I love her.
Oh,
Oh my,
likewise. Yeah.
thank
Grateful for the opportunity and for all of the light that you are bringing into the world.
Thank
Appreciating.
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, then. See you all, lovely people, very soon. And do give us feedback about every little thing that Robin said that helped you. I would look forward to the feedback. Any comments, go ahead, post it. I always keep working on improvising, getting more value to each and every one of you. Have a fabulous day.
Mm,
Bye.
bye.